Soldier Girls. Lucinda Martin chewed the inside of her cheek and tried to calm her pounding heart. She walked toward the family's well. She could not stop thinking about her older sister, Sarah. A few weeks ago, Sarah had cut her hair short and then run away from home to join the Patriot Army. Sarah, a soldier, dressed in a uniform and out there on the battlefield. Lucinda could hardly believe it, but then again she supposed she should not have been so surprised. Sarah had always been a daredevil, unlike Lucinda, who preferred things to be quiet and predictable. Lucinda stared down the road that passed by her family's well, hoping Sarah would suddenly appear shouting, "I'm home! I've returned to South Carolina." But all Lucinda could see was a bit of breeze picking up dust. Lucinda's mother had burst into angry tears when she realized that Sarah, her eldest daughter, was gone. But as the days passed, her mother's anger changed to fear for Sarah's safety. Now she only wanted to find Sarah and bring her home. But where could the family even begin to look? Sarah could be anywhere, and the family had no idea where to find her. A noise broke Lucinda's thoughts. She looked up and saw a soldier in a ragged uniform limping toward her. "Good morning, miss," the soldier said respectfully, tipping his hat, and then continued, "May I please trouble you for a cup of water?" "Of course," Lucinda said. "It's such a warm day." She scooped up some water for the thirsty soldier and watched as he gulped it down. "Where are you headed?" she asked, although it was not unusual to see soldiers marching by. She hadn't seen anyone in a few days. "I was at a big battle in Charleston, but snuck home to check on my family, and now I'm going back. The British Army has besieged the city, and the fighting is terrible. There are thousands of soldiers there." The soldier tipped his cap and thanked Lucinda. "I'd best be on my way," he said, waving goodbye. Lucinda thought about his words and then sprinted inside to share them with her mother. If there were thousands of soldiers in Charleston, maybe Sarah was one of them. A surprise meeting. Lucinda wiped sweat from her forehead with the back of her hand. She and her mother had arrived in Charleston to find a scene of complete chaos. There were wounded soldiers everywhere, and their cries of pain had filled the air. A makeshift hospital had been set up to treat them, even as other soldiers continued to fight against the British siege. Lucinda and her mother quickly jumped in to help by bringing fresh water to the soldiers and applying bandages to the wounded. But they'd become so busy that they hardly had any time to look for Sarah. "Miss, some water, please," a soldier cried. "Over here, miss, please." Lucinda hurried to a soldier who was sitting up on a roll of bedding. His face was pale. He was clearly in pain. As she held the cup to his lips, she heard one of the older nurses calling for fresh bandages. More wounded were coming into the tent. Just then Lucinda heard a familiar voice on the other side of the tent. "The general is asking for any able-bodied men to come back to the field. He needs more fighters desperately," the young soldier shouted. "Sarah!" Lucinda gasped, then placed the cup into the soldier's hands and hurried after her sister. "Sarah," she called again, and her sister flinched but kept walking, so Lucinda ran faster to catch up. She grabbed her sister's arm. "Wait, Sarah, it's me." The soldier turned, and Lucinda couldn't believe her eyes. She knew Sarah had cut her hair, but seeing Sarah's face sunburned and smudged with dirt under the brim of her military hat, she really did look like a boy. "Lucinda, what are you doing here?" Sarah dragged Lucinda to a quiet spot under a tree. Lucinda quickly told her sister about how she and her mother had felt desperate after she'd gone. Lucinda explained how they'd intended to look for her, but ended up helping the wounded and injured. "Now that I've found you, we can go home," Lucinda said with satisfaction. "No," Sarah said, shaking her head. "I'm not going home." Lucinda stared, puzzled, as Sarah went on. "I like being a soldier. In fact, I dare say that I love it. I am fighting to win our country's freedom, and I'm happy to be part of a movement that will create an independent nation." "But this battle is a disaster," Lucinda said. "The British siege grows worse every day. Their troops have blocked the harbor and stopped food supplies from getting in. Don't you see that you can't win?" Sarah sighed. "You're right, and maybe we'll lose this battle, but there is still a lot of war left to fight." Then she said, "I'm staying. Tell our mother that I love her, and I'll be all right. Now I've got to get back to the front lines." She kissed Lucinda's cheek and quickly ran off.